it's recording.
Okay. So, the first question that, from an order of importance that we thought was, is it ethically correct is it ethically correct to use false information on your resumes? So, what do you guys think? I mean, I know that personally, in an ethical standpoint, I don't agree with it, but I know people do use it and do that to try to advance their careers.
No, I agree. I think on an ethical standpoint, it's not correct because, for example, if you put something in there like you got a master's degree from this university and you never did, that could potentially affect the qualifications that's required for that job. So that's something that's could be ethically immoral because you're cheating the employer out of something that they were looking for, just to get yourself ahead.
Right. I was actually reading about that online. I was reading about that online and how people who are just a few credits shy of graduating, whether it be a bachelor's or a master's degree, will lie and say they got it. And then the problem with that is the ethical dilemma is that, all the employer has to do is call the college, and if there isn't documentation of them getting the degree, then they're in trouble.
Yeah.
So it's sort of not the smartest thing to do to lie about. I mean, and ethically, you're doing yourself a disservice in terms of actually getting a job.
Yeah, and I think you're not only affecting yourself, but you're also affecting your employer and the company as well, because your employer, he hired you, he saw your resume, and it's pretty much everything that, you say that you are, and he has to put somewhat of trust into that. And now when something happens and he finds out, oh man, this guy doesn't know how to do, the ABCs of, the simplest things in our company, that's on me now. So, I mean, I just think that putting something on your resume that falsifies what you do, like giving false credentials or just experience in general, it really has detrimental effects not only to yourself, but to others as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I agree, and also because if somebody did have the same qualifications but that actually had a true resume, they would be cheated out of the job just because you falsified your resume and got the job instead of them. So that could be, affecting them as well.
Now, one of the questions that I had was, in like a competitive environment, do you have the moral obligation to not let yourself be bested by other people, like in the fact of, oh, well, since everyone is doing it and lying on their resume? Because I think it was 46% of people have falsified information on their resume. So do you think in that concept of, well, everyone's doing it, so I need to do it myself just because I can't, if I don't do it, then I don't get ahead. I won't get that job.
I think one example is
that's an excellent question.
Yeah. And I think an example of that would be for example.
There's such a delay.
It's okay. Would be for if I put Microsoft Excel on my resume, right, and if an employer hires me to create reports or formulas in it, and I only know how to highlight words or change the column size or stuff like basic stuff, that could be something that could if they looked at that and they said, oh well, they know Microsoft Excel, but then I go into that environment and I actually don't know as much as I do, could that be as a falsified information? I mean, because I think that's more of an exaggeration, but
yeah.
I think that could be an example of maybe people exaggerating they know something but they don't really know it, but they just know the basics maybe.
I think it becomes a slippery slope because it's once you tell, it's the difference between a white lie and something bigger, but it affects other people in the workplace. And as soon as you start telling little lies, maybe I can't make a whole huge spreadsheet on Excel, then it becomes, it snowballs. It can get a lot bigger, and
it also costs the company in training too. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they see that this person doesn't actually really know what they're doing. They put the time and the effort. They put the HR money into it already.
Mm-hmm.
They've gone through all these steps and measures to find the right person, and all of a sudden they realize, oh man, we need to train this guy even more. This girl, we need to train them even more.
Right.
And that one little white lie, as you say, could just spiral out of control and really do some detrimental effects.
Right. So I guess on that scale, I guess that's why some people may need to exaggerate, or like you said, fabricate some stuff on their resume that they may not necessarily have, because they feel like they may know a little bit, but then once they get to that environment, they feel like they could do it, but then at the same time, they don't know as much as what their employer required. So that could be something that's
So do you think there should be any
detrimental.
repercussions about that then? I mean, ethically, you went into it and you knew that it was wrong. I mean, should you have to face penalties about that?
I think so. I mean, at that point, I guess it's the employer's choice whether to keep you or say, hey, you're not the person that we thought we hired. So I guess that it would really ultimately be their choice.
I agree with that. And also, I was reading online, a lot of times it's hard to make any sort of legal case out of this person lied on their job application, and then the person has to, or the employer has to prove that something on the resume was a deciding factor in them getting the job, which is kind of weird, but then at the same time, it's like, I mean, that's the reason they're paying them money or training them to do X, Y, and Z. So I think, there should be repercussions. It's, you're going in there trying to put your best foot forward, so don't lie.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. And I think just having repercussions just helps out everyone down the line too. It kind of sets, a standard of saying, listen, we're not gonna, take, even the smallest amount of lies that you put on here that you don't have the experience to do it. It sets an example, I think, for everybody else down the line.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should we move on to number 2?
Yeah, that sounds good.
And just to let you know on the time, we have 7 minutes in, so it says like 7 minutes out of 15 minutes. I don't know if it stops at 15 minutes, but.
Oh, God. All right.
It does.
All right. Number 2 is using the company computer to search for jobs while on the company's time.
This one, I know I've done it. I mean, I've gone on Career Builder while I've been at work. I've looked for jobs, especially during those days when you really don't like your job.
Mm-hmm.
Ethically speaking, yeah, I think it's wrong. It does constitute as time abuse and equipment abuse, because I'm using the skill set that my company gave me and I'm putting it towards something else.
I agree, and I'm the same with you. I've done it before because I get alerts on my email when like a new job that I'm interested in, or like around my areas or expertise. So I'll get an alert and I'll be like, oh, I should check that out, and then I'll open it up and see what the job description is. So I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah, I am too. I've done it. I actually have like an admin job right now, and it's incredibly boring. So I spend probably more time than I should looking for other jobs that would pay me more money and that are closer to home. But I feel bad doing it. So ethically, I guess I disagree with necessarily doing that. But at the same time, if you want to better your life and you're at work all the time, when else are you supposed to apply to jobs? It's like a weird, I don't know, weird dynamic.
Do you feel that the way I look at it is like, okay, yeah, ethically I feel it's wrong, but I don't think it affects really anybody else unless my job performance slips.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's really, it doesn't affect any other parties but myself.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, you can spend time doing it, I suppose, like you said, unless it starts affecting your work or people around you. It's funny, too, like I was reading online, and some computers at some places of work, they don't let you use the computer for anything personal, which is sort of a way of entirely eliminating the problem. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I mean, if you're going to use the internet for other things at work, the company can't really deny you from using the computer at all, for like anything personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I don't know if there should be any repercussions of doing it, just because I think it's so minute. I don't know. I don't think there should be any repercussions unless you're speaking to another employer at that time, while you're at work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or unless you're
Or you've
spending
left.
like 50% of your workday on it.
Right, yeah.
Exactly. If it starts affecting your performance or
Yeah.
people around you, I definitely think like you're in the wrong and you should be reprimanded for it. But other than that, if you're going on career builds or during like your work time and just checking to see what's out there, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah. It's a tough job market.
It is.
Yeah, no, in the world of competitiveness, I mean, you really have to be on your A game all the time and really be scoping it out, especially with the technology that's available to us. So,
I agree.
yeah.
All right, how are we doing on time?
We're at 10 minutes and 36 seconds, so we got like about 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes left.
You
Okay,
guys want to do plagiarism?
that sounds good. So, what was the question? The question was, is it ethical for students? I thought it more pertained towards students. If they plagiarized, is it ethically right for them to plagiarize while in school to try to get themselves ahead?
Yeah, and plagiarism on the internet, because that's a real, like, unfamiliar territory for some kids. I was reading about it, and there are a lot of issues of fair use with internet articles because kids figure, oh, it's public domain, if it's online, so then they don't understand necessarily that they're plagiarizing, which, I mean, by the time you're in college, you should probably know. Every teacher ever hands you a piece of paper on first day of school that says, don't cheat, don't plagiarize, but,
Yes.
I think it's harder, I was reading too, it's harder to, get away with plagiarizing in this day and age because they have software that can track and, find if passages are copied from other places, which is kind of weird, but useful, I guess, if you want to catch cheaters.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like with plagiarism, I feel like it harms you more than it harms anybody else. Yes, it does harm the person that you're plagiarizing from and stealing their work, but I think it really does affect you more because, well, what are you gaining out of it besides just copying and putting it on, and portraying it as yourself?
Right. And
And
also,
that's really what I have to oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, from what Catherine was saying, there is like a program now where teachers can turn in a paper online, and I think it's called Turn In or something like that, where they could actually scans the paper and looks for words that may be like used from other articles or essays or something like that, so it could somehow pick up if it was plagiarized. And like you said, it's not really doing anybody any good. So
Now, the question I have to ask is, if they have a bibliography that seems correct, and the teacher still does that, who's in the wrong at that point? Is it the student that actually cited the work, but still maybe took it off and didn't do it correctly, but took it off the internet that way?
That's a good question.
yeah.
I mean those software programs are great and everything like that, but that's the way I feel. I mean, maybe this person didn't really take it all the way, but he didn't cite it the right way.
Yeah. I guess it would just be on the teacher's judgment whether, they think that it was plagiarized or not, based on what the essay or paper or whatever it said. So.
Yeah, and like another question I have is if everyone else is plagiarizing, should you do it yourself? I mean, to get that A or to maybe get that step ahead. No.
I'd have to say no. I mean, I play music and I write music, and sometimes I'll cover songs or post them on YouTube, things like that, but I always cite, this isn't my song, it's this so-and-so's work, and the same can be said, I wouldn't want someone copying a song I wrote and not, citing me, and granted that's music, but it's still words, it's still on the internet, so it's, I don't know, personally, I don't think it benefits anyone to plagiarize any sort of work. You're better to think on your own and cite if you quote other people. That's my thought on it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have 30
Definitely.
seconds left.
Oh.
But I could always start a new video, so I mean, I could upload this one and we could begin another one, so it's really up to you guys.
I think we're pretty good, unless you guys have anything else you want
I
to say.
thought what you just said was well said. I don't have any rebuttal for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. Well, excellent. Nice.
All right, thank you.